Amara sat in the hospital waiting room, clutching her belly as another wave of pain hit her. Sweat rolled down her face, and tears filled her eyes. It was 2:13 in the morning. The lights were dim, the smell of antiseptic hung in the air, and her cries echoed through the empty hall. "Please someone call my husband," she whispered, her voice shaking. But David was nowhere to be found. Outside the room, Mrs. Gladys, her mother-in-law, paced back and forth with her arms crossed. Her face was cold, her eyes sharp. A nurse rushed in. "Ma'am, we need the father's consent for an epidural. The pain is too much for her." Mrs. Gladys didn't even look at Amara. "Don't disturb my son," she snapped. "He's resting. She can manage without all that." The nurse hesitated, glancing between them, but Mrs. Gladys' tone left no room for argument. Hours passed. Amara screamed, pushed, and cried until her body felt like it would break apart. Finally, she heard the faint cry of a newborn. Relief flooded her. Her heart lifted. She tried to sit up, weak and trembling. "Where's my baby?" she asked softly, her lips pale and dry. Mrs. Gladys turned to her, her voice icy. "You don't need to see him. You almost killed him with your stubbornness." Amara blinked, confused. What do you mean? Please let me hold him." The nurse looked uncomfortable, but obeyed Mrs. Gladys' sharp order to take the baby out. Amara watched helplessly as the tiny bundle was carried away. Her tears fell freely now. "Please," she whispered weakly, reaching out with trembling hands. "Please. I just want to hold my son." Mrs. Gladys leaned closer, her expression hard as stone. "You'll never see the baby again," she said coldly. "Not after what you did." Amara's body froze. The room felt silent except for the fading sound of the baby's cries disappearing down the hall. Her heart broke into pieces as darkness filled her vision. The screen fades to black. Title appears, The Mother's Shadow. A year before the night at the hospital, Amara's life was full of hope. She was a young schoolteacher who loved her job and her students. She believed in kindness and simple living. One sunny afternoon, she volunteered at a church outreach program, helping children read. That was where she met David. David was handsome, gentle, and spoke with warmth that immediately drew her in. He wasn't loud or proud like most men she had met. He listened, really listened, when she talked. He asked about her dreams, her family, and her childhood. For the first time, Amara felt seen and valued. They began to meet more often. Church events, coffee after Sunday service, long walks talking about life. Within months, their friendship grew into love. David told her she made him feel peaceful. Amara told him he made her feel safe. Everything seemed perfect, until she met his mother. Mrs. Gladys Cole was a woman of status and pride. Her voice carried authority, and her eyes missed nothing. From the first day, Amara could tell she didn't approve. Gladys smiled politely but spoke with sharpness hidden behind her words. "A teacher?" she asked, raising a brow. "That's nice. But my son needs a wife who can match his family's class." Amara tried to stay respectful. She believed love could soften hearts. David told her not to worry. "She'll come around," he said with his usual calm. Amara wanted to believe him. When they got engaged, Gladys began to involve herself in every detail. She took over the wedding planning, deciding the guest list, the venue, even the colors. "It's best if I handle these things," she said sweetly. "You're new to our kind of events." David tried to laugh it off. "Mom just likes to help," he said. But Amara could see it was more than that. Gladys wasn't helping. She was controlling. After the wedding, Gladys insisted they live in a house she had chosen. "Closer to me," she said. Amara wanted privacy, but David agreed to please his mother. It was the first time Amara felt unseen. Life in that house quickly became uncomfortable. Gladys visited daily without notice. She commented on everything. How Amara cooked, how she dressed, how she spoke. Every small mistake became a reason to scold. David always told Amara to ignore it, or not take it personally. But each day, the silence between them grew. 6 months into their marriage, Amara discovered she was pregnant. She was overjoyed. For a brief moment, she thought this new life might bring everyone closer. But Gladys saw it differently. From that day, Gladys took charge of Amara's pregnancy as if she owned it. She dictated what Amara should eat, when she should sleep, and which hospital she should visit. She often said, "You're lucky I'm here. You don't know how these things work." When Amara mentioned wanting her own doctor, Gladys laughed bitterly. You think you know better than a woman who has raised 3 children? You'll see. Amara felt like a guest in her own life. David tried to stay calm, but his silence hurt her more than words could. He was torn between his mother and his wife, and his silence always ended up supporting Gladys. As the months passed, Amara became more withdrawn. She barely spoke during family dinners. Her smile faded. Even the baby's kicks, once a joy, now came with fear. Fear that Gladys would find another reason to scold or control her. Sometimes Amara would sit alone at night, rubbing her belly gently, whispering to her unborn child, "You and I will be okay. I'll protect you." But deep down, she wasn't sure she could. By the time her due date neared, she was emotionally exhausted. She had no friends nearby, no family around, and a husband too weak to stand up for her. Gladys had turned everyone against her, painting her as ungrateful and emotional. Every act of love Amara offered was twisted into something wrong. If she cooked, Gladys said it was tasteless. If she stayed quiet, Gladys said she was rude. If she spoke, she was talking back. Their home became a quiet battlefield. Words were weapons, silence was punishment. And in the middle of it all stood Amara, lonely, tired, and slowly losing the light that once made her so full of life. The tension between her and Gladys grew into a cold, unspoken war. And through it all, Amara realized something heartbreaking. In this family, she was fighting alone. The labor begins at midnight. Amara wakes up with a sharp pain in her lower belly. At first, she thinks it's just another cramp, but when the pain comes again, stronger and longer, she realizes, it's time. Her water breaks, and panic fills her eyes. She grabs her phone and calls David, but he doesn't answer. She tries again and again. Still nothing. Her hands shake as she calls her neighbor, Mrs. Ojeki, who rushes over immediately. "Hold on, Amara, I'll take you," she says, helping her into the car. The roads are dark and empty. Every bump makes Amara cry out in pain. When they reach the hospital, nurses rush her into the maternity ward. She keeps asking, "Please call my husband," but no one knows where he is. Minutes later, Mrs. Gladys storms in, dressed in her expensive robe, her face hard and unreadable. "Where's my son?" the nurse asks. "He's resting," Gladys snaps. "I'll handle everything." Without waiting for permission, she begins giving orders as if she's the one in charge. Make sure she doesn't get that injection. She's strong enough. These young girls always exaggerate pain, she says loudly, ignoring Amara's cries. Amara reaches out weakly. "Mama, please. I need David. I need him here." Gladys doesn't even look at her. "Save your strength for the baby," she says coldly. Hours pass. Amara screams, sweats, and prays through the pain. Her body shakes from exhaustion. But the nurses can't do much without the father's consent. Mrs. Gladys refuses every request for medication, saying, "She'll manage. Women in my time didn't need all this drama." Finally, after hours of struggle, Amara gives birth to a baby boy. The sound of his cry fills the room, and for one small moment, everything feels right. Tears of joy run down her face. She stretches out her arms. "Please let me hold him." But before the nurse can hand the baby over, Mrs. Gladys steps in. "I'll take him," she says firmly. The nurse hesitates but obeys. Amara's vision blurs. "Please, my baby," she whispers. But the room spins, and darkness covers her as the nurse injects something into her arm to help her rest. When she wakes up the next morning, the sunlight is streaming through the window. Her body feels weak, her mind foggy. She looks around, no baby in her arms. Mrs. Gladys sits calmly by her bedside, flipping through a magazine. David stands by the window, his face pale and distant. "Where's my baby?" Amara asks, her voice trembling. Gladys looks up slowly. "The baby is in neonatal care," she says in a cold tone. "The doctor said you need rest before you can see him." Amara frowns. "But, was he hurt? Is he okay?" Gladys sighs loudly. "He's fine for now. But you almost caused complications because of your stubbornness. If I hadn't stepped in, who knows what would have happened?" David says nothing. He just nods weakly as if agreeing. Amara feels her heart sink. Something is wrong. Later, while Gladys steps out to take a call, Amara hears 2 nurses talking near the door. "The baby is perfectly healthy," one whispers. "Yes," the other replies. But Mrs. Cole said the baby will stay with her for now. She gave strict instructions not to take him to the mother's room. Amara's breath catches. Her hands begin to shake. She presses her palm to her chest, her heartbeat racing. She realizes the truth. Her mother-in-law lied. Her baby isn't in the neonatal unit. He's with Gladys. When Gladys returns, Amara tries to ask calmly, "Mama, can I please see my baby now?" Gladys smiles tightly. "You're still weak. Let's not risk your health. Maybe tomorrow." Tears fill Amara's eyes. "Please, he needs me." But Gladys' tone turns sharp. "Enough, Amara. You've done enough harm already. Rest." Amara turns her face away, biting her lips to keep from crying. Her mind feels trapped, her body powerless. The people she trusted most have taken her child from her, and no one believes her pain. As the night falls again, she lies awake staring at the ceiling. The truth presses down on her like a weight she can't lift. Mrs. Gladys isn't helping, she's taking over. And for the first time, Amara understands. She is being erased from her own child's life. Amara spirals between grief and confusion. Every day feels like a blur. She wakes up with an empty ache in her chest, and goes to bed with tears soaking her pillow. Her body still aches from childbirth, but the deeper pain is inside her heart, the pain of being kept away from her baby. David visits her in the hospital, but never alone. His mother, Gladys, is always there, hovering, watching, listening. When Amara tries to speak to him, Gladys always interrupts. One day, when Amara gathers the courage to say, "David, I need to see our baby," he sighs and looks away. "Mom just wants what's best for you and the baby," he says quietly. Amara studies his face, searching for love, for belief, but his eyes no longer meet hers. There's distance now, a wall she can't climb. When she is finally discharged and returns home, everything feels different. The house that was once theirs now feels like a stranger's home. Gladys has taken full control. The baby sleeps in her room. She says Amara needs to rest and recover, but Amara knows it's just another way to keep her away. Every time Amara tries to see her son, Gladys finds a reason to stop her. "He's sleeping," she says. "You'll wake him." Or, "You need to take your medicine first." At first, Amara tries to stay calm. She tells herself that Gladys will eventually trust her again. But days turn into weeks, and nothing changes. The nursery door is always closed. Her baby's cries echo down the hallway, and her heart breaks every time she hears him. Late one night, unable to bear it anymore, Amara gets up quietly. The house is dark. She tiptoes down the hallway, her hands trembling as she reaches for the nursery door. She opens it slowly and sees her baby lying in the crib, fast asleep. Tears of relief fill her eyes. She kneels beside the crib and gently touches his tiny hand. "My sweet boy," she whispers, smiling through tears. But before she can lift him, the lights switch on. Gladys stands by the door, her face filled with anger. "What do you think you're doing?" she snaps. Amara jumps, startled. I just wanted to hold him for a moment." Gladys steps forward. "You're unfit. The doctor said you had complications. You could harm him without knowing." "That's not true." Amara cries. "I'm his mother." Gladys' tone turns icy. "A mother doesn't endanger her child. Go back to your room." David appears at the door, rubbing his eyes. "What's going on?" he asks. Gladys answers before Amara can speak. "She was sneaking into the nursery again. I told you she's not stable yet." Amara turns to David, her voice breaking. "David, please, I just wanted to hold our baby." David hesitates. His eyes flicker between them, then he sighs. "Just give it time, Amara. Mom knows what she's doing." Her heart shatters at those words. "You believe her over me?" He doesn't answer. He just walks away, leaving her standing there in tears. From that night on, everything gets worse. Gladys becomes even more controlling. She tells the housemaid not to let Amara near the nursery. She locks the door when she goes out. She even tells visitors that Amara is recovering from stress. Amara begins to doubt herself. Maybe she is losing her mind. Maybe she really isn't ready. Her body feels heavy, her thoughts dark. Sometimes she doesn't even get out of bed. The days blur together. Crying, sleeping, staring at the ceiling. She feels invisible, like a ghost living in her own home. Then one afternoon, her friend Ngozi visits. She's the only one who still checks on Amara. Ngozi looks around the house and frowns. Where's the baby? In her room. Amara says softly. Mrs. Cole keeps him there. She says I need rest. Ngozi's eyes widen. That's not normal, Amara. You gave birth to that child. You have the right to hold him, feed him, love him. Amara shakes her head weakly. She said the doctor said I was too weak, that I might hurt him. Ngozi sits beside her, holding her hand. That doesn't sound right. You need to know the truth. The truth? Amara asks, her voice barely a whisper. Yes, Ngozi says firmly. Let's go to another hospital. Let's talk to someone who can tell you what really happened during your delivery. At first, Amara hesitates. She's scared of what Gladys might do if she finds out. But something inside her, a tiny spark of courage, pushes her to agree. A few days later, Ngozi arranges a private appointment with Dr. Ifeoma Naji, the obstetrician who handled Amara's delivery. They meet in a quiet office away from the main hospital ward. Dr. Ifeoma greets them kindly. Amara, she says softly. I remember you. How are you feeling? Amara takes a deep breath. Doctor, I need to know what really happened the night I gave birth. They told me I had complications, that I couldn't see my baby. Dr. Ifeoma's smile fades. She opens Amara's file and studies the papers inside carefully. Minutes pass in silence. Then she looks up, her face serious. Amara, she says slowly, you had no complications. Your delivery was smooth. Your baby was healthy. Amara feels her heart stop. Then why did they sedate me so long? Why didn't they let me see him? Dr. Ifeoma hesitates. According to the records, someone gave special instructions after the birth that you should be kept under sedation longer than usual. Who signed it? Amara asks, her hands shaking. The doctor turns the paper toward her. Mrs. Gladys Cole. She signed as your husband's representative. Amara gasps, her eyes filling with tears. Ngozi squeezes her shoulder as she breaks down. Everything suddenly makes sense. The lies, the control, the distance. Mrs. Gladys hadn't been protecting her. She had stolen her child from her. That night, Amara sits in silence, holding the copy of the hospital record in her hands. The paper trembles as she stares at it. The truth is finally clear. And it burns. Her pain turns into anger, her fear into strength. She wipes her tears, her voice trembling but firm. She took my baby, she whispers. But I'm taking him back. Dr. Ifeoma listens carefully, reviewing the hospital records. Her calm face slowly changes. Her eyes narrow, and her lips press together. Amara, she says softly. There were no complications during your delivery. You gave birth safely. The baby was perfectly healthy. Amara frowns, confused. Then why was I sedated for so long? They said it was an emergency. Dr. Ifeoma sighs deeply and turns the folder around so Amara can see the documents. You were sedated longer than necessary, and it wasn't the medical team's choice. Someone outside the medical staff gave the instruction. Amara's heart begins to race. Her voice shakes. Who? Dr. Ifeoma hesitates, then points to a name on the form. Mrs. Gladys Cole. She signed this authorization form, saying she was acting under your husband's authority. Amara's breath catches in her throat. Her hands tremble as she touches the paper, reading the forged signature. She stole my time with my child. Dr. Ifeoma nods sadly. I'm so sorry, Amara. You were sedated to keep you quiet. You have the right to report this. The hospital must investigate. Tears blur Amara's vision. For weeks she thought she was losing her mind. Now the truth hits her. It was never her weakness. It was their manipulation. That night, Amara can't sleep. She stares at the ceiling, clutching her phone, the evidence safely saved. Ngozi's words echo in her mind. You have to fight back, Amara. For your child. The next morning, Amara gathers all the hospital records and walks into David's office. Her steps are slow but firm. David looks up, startled. He hasn't seen her this determined in months. Amara? You shouldn't be out of bed. Stop, she interrupts, voice trembling but steady. You need to see this. She places the documents on his desk. David scans them, his brow furrowing. When he reaches the signature line, his face drains of color. This says Mom signed for sedation. Acting for me. Amara's voice cracks. Your mother took my child from me, David. And you let her. For a long time, David says nothing. The room is silent except for the soft ticking of a wall clock. Then he whispers, "I didn't know, Amara. I swear I didn't." Tears fall down his cheeks as guilt floods his face. He grips the edge of the desk. "She told me the doctor said you were too weak, that it was best for the baby. I believed her." Amara wipes her tears, but her pain is raw. "You never asked me, David. You never looked at me." David buries his face in his hands. Then suddenly he stands. "I'll make this right." He storms out of the office and drives straight to his mother's house. Gladys is in the living room, rocking the baby. She smiles when she sees him. "David, you're just in time for." He cuts her off, his voice shaking with anger. "What did you do to Amara?" Her smile fades. "What are you talking about?" "The hospital records, Mom. You signed papers in my name. You sedated my wife. You lied to me about complications." Gladys sets the baby down carefully, her tone cold. "David, I did what was necessary. That girl isn't fit to raise this child. She's fragile, emotional. You'd lose everything if you let her drag you down." David's eyes fill with disbelief and rage. "You call this love? You ruined my marriage. You stole my wife's first moments with her child." Gladys raises her voice. "I saved this family's name." David points toward the door. "No, you destroyed it. You ruined mine." He picks up the baby gently and walks out, leaving his mother frozen in silence. When Amara hears the door open, she turns, and there he is holding their baby. She gasps, covering her mouth. Tears spill freely as she reaches for her son. David's voice breaks. "I'm sorry, Amare. I should have believed you." She holds the baby close, trembling with relief and love. But the moment doesn't last long. That evening, there's a knock at the door. Two strangers stand outside, a woman and a man with ID badges. "Mrs. Amara Cole?" The woman says politely. "We're from Child Protective Services. We received a report that you may be mentally unstable and unfit to care for your child." Amara freezes. Her mind spins. David steps forward, furious. "Who filed this?" The woman glances at her clipboard. "A Mrs. Gladys Cole." Amara feels her knees weaken. David catches her before she falls. "She won't stop," Amara whispers. David's jaw tightens. "Then neither will we." As the officers leave, promising to review the situation, Amara clutches her baby tighter. The storm isn't over, but this time she isn't alone. The truth is out, and the fight for justice has begun. Dr. Ifeoma testifies in Amara's favor, presenting the falsified medical forms to the court. The courtroom falls silent as she explains how Gladys signed the documents without proper authority and gave false medical instructions. Mrs. Cole ordered unnecessary sedation. Dr. Ifeoma says firmly, "There were no complications during delivery. Amara was perfectly healthy. This was a deliberate act to separate a mother from her child." Gladys, sitting at the defense table, looks pale. Her confidence fades with every word. The judge studies the evidence, his expression stern. When Amara's turn comes, she stands, holding her baby tightly. Her voice shakes but stays steady. "All I ever wanted was to hold my son. I trusted them, my husband, his mother. And they took that trust and used it against me. But I will never let anyone take him from me again." The judge nods slowly. Then he turns to Gladys. "Mrs. Gladys Cole, your actions were manipulative, controlling, and harmful. You had no right to interfere with this woman's medical care or parental rights." He turns back to Amara with a softer tone. "Mrs. Amara Cole, this court restores your full custody and parental authority. You are the rightful guardian of your child." Tears roll down Amara's cheeks. Her lawyer squeezes her hand. Ngozi smiles from the gallery, eyes wet with pride. Gladys lowers her head, defeated. The lie she built has finally collapsed. After the hearing, David approaches Amara outside the courthouse. His shoulders are slumped. His eyes are full of regret. "Amara, I don't expect you to forgive me. I should have protected you. I should have seen what she was doing." Amara looks at him quietly for a moment. Her heart aches, but she's no longer the same woman who once begged for understanding. "I'll forgive you," she says softly, "but I won't live under your mother's shadow again." David nods, tears in his eyes. "You deserve peace. I hope one day I can earn back a place in your life." Amara doesn't answer. She simply turns and walks toward her car, her baby in her arms, the afternoon sun shining on her face. For the first time in a long time, she feels free. Weeks pass. Amara moves into a small but cozy apartment with her baby. She returns to her teaching job, supported by Ngozi and a few kind colleagues. Life isn't easy. There are long nights and tired mornings, but there's peace. The kind of peace she never had in that big, cold house. She decorates the nursery herself, paints the walls a soft yellow, and fills the room with laughter and lullabies. Each day, she grows stronger, more confident, more alive. Months later, during a school event, David visits. He stands at the back of the classroom, watching quietly as Amara reads a story to a group of children, her son sitting proudly on her lap. The little boy claps and laughs, his mother's joy shining through him. When the crowd disperses, David approaches slowly. "You're doing amazing, Amara," he says quietly. "You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for." Amara looks at him for a moment, her eyes calm and kind. Then she smiles faintly. "I always was. You just didn't look close enough." David nods, understanding at last. He watches her walk away with their son. Not broken, not bitter, but renewed. Amara steps out into the sunlight, the breeze warm on her face. She whispers softly to her baby, "It's just us now, my love. And we're going to be okay." For the first time, she truly believes it. Amara isn't just surviving anymore. She's living on her own terms. Amara stood in her small living room, decorated with colorful balloons and a single white cake glowing with one candle. Her baby sat on the table, clapping and laughing as everyone sang, "Happy birthday." Laughter filled the room. Ngozi was filming on her phone. A few friends were cheering, and Dr. Ifeoma stood beside Amara with a proud smile. As her son leaned forward and blew out the candle, Amara felt her eyes fill with happy tears. The sound of laughter, the smell of cake, the warmth of home. It all felt like a dream she once thought she'd lost. She stepped aside for a moment, watching quietly. Dr. Ifeoma joined her and said softly, "You look happy, Amara." Amara smiled, her heart full. "I am. For the first time, I feel free." Her gaze shifted to a small envelope lying on the table, a letter from Gladys. It had arrived that morning, neatly sealed. Amara picked it up, turned it over in her hand, and sighed. "Some apologies can wait," she whispered. She placed the envelope down and turned back to her son, lifting him high into the air as sunlight poured through the window. The room filled with laughter again, bright and full of hope. Amara smiled through her tears. For the first time, she wasn't looking back. She was looking forward. Clapperboard, hi besties. Thank you so much for watching till the end. Sparkling heart. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more emotional stories every week. Sparkles. See you in the next one. Bye. Waving hand, revolving hearts.